Good morning to each and every one of the stakeholders to this summit. Thank you very much for making us a part of this summit. Congratulations to the university for hosting this first ever Ifugao Rice Terraces assessment. I think it's a very worthwhile effort so that we can contribute to the conservation of our very own rice terraces. My presentation this morning is all about are two projects which have been implemented in the past, and although they have already been closed, we have happy memories of these, and we would like to share with you the experiences, the lessons learned, and the achievements of these programs. I start off with the first program, and this is the Central Cordillera Agricultural Program. The Central Cordillera Agricultural Program, or CECAP, was an integrated rural development project of the Department of Agriculture for the Philippines in partnership with the European Union. And this was implemented in 2 phases with an extension period for a total of 16 productive years. CECAP was started in 1989 with the objective of promoting self-sustaining improvements in the Central Cordillera by increasing incomes and strengthening resource management capabilities. The participative identification, design, and implementation of a program of micro-projects at barangay level was a novel approach based on the successful similar programs with highland communities in South America. CECAP was the first development partnership of this kind between the Philippines and the European Union. Okay. The project coverage of CECAP was, we worked in 25 municipalities, 10 in Ifugao, 4 in Mountain Province, 6 municipalities in Kalinga, and 5 municipalities in Abra, where there are with 341 barangays and a total household population at the time of about 49,000 households. Of these, 248 barangays and a population of 38,000 households directly benefited from CECAP interventions. The original coverage included Cayapa and Santa Fe municipalities in Nueva Vizcaya, but due to the earthquake in 1991, a separate European Union supported program was made for the earthquake-affected areas in Nueva Vizcaya and Benguet. Now we go to the first phase, which was run from 1989 to 1996. By the end of this duration, CECAP implemented 2,800 micro-projects. A considerable impact was achieved through the following: the rehabilitation and construction of roads, footbridges and footpaths, village water systems, and irrigation schemes. Agricultural micro-projects covering existing as well as new crops and livestock techniques were done. Community development interventions have improved health, nutrition, and sanitation. Training activities were included in almost all the micro-projects to improve skills and knowledge of the beneficiaries as well as the implementers. The impact of this for phase 1 was that 62% of the micro-projects that were implemented showed indications of sustainability. And the studies made after phase 1 showed an increase in annual income of around 4,000 to 26,000 for our households. This was the basis for the approval of a phase 2. The phase 2 of CECAP was, I covered the period 1996 to 2003. Phase 2 started this operation in July 1996, right after the closing of phase 1 on June 30, 1996. The first 18 months served as the inception period, where modifications in program components and strategies were evolved as a result from lessons learned in phase 1. There was a need to focus on viable agri-commodities and the need to review our rural financing system. Now, the achievements in phase 2 were reflected through the 6 components that were implemented under phase 2. You can see for agriculture, we have there the numerical accomplishments, but I would like to focus on the on our achievements or our accomplishments for agriculture as saying that we worked very closely with the provincial and municipal agricultural offices. There was a lot of training and project implementation was done with them. Later on in my presentation, I will share later a success story on agriculture. So suffice to say, we had around 8,693 households who have adopted improved farming methods, such as coffee planting and rejuvenation, fruit tree planting, such as introduction of disease-free tissue culture banana plantlets to rehabilitate local farms, our sustainable technologies for both upland rice and improved technologies for lowland rice, such as using solar and sunflower as fertilizers, early transplanting, fish and duck integration with the rice-based cropping system, the use of our integrated pest management with our farmer field school methods used for vegetable production, the training of paravets or para-veterinarians to assist our veterinary services such as deworming, medication, and simple surgical operation at barangay level. The second component was our natural resources management. Here we have 6,200 households who made environmental improvement through reforested and productive lands, enriched woodlots, stabilized steep slopes, and protected micro-watersheds. SECAP started agroforestry systems, planted 2.4 million trees, covering 2 million hectares with an average survival rate of 81%. The success story already with the natural resources management, if Fried Chicken built the Max House, for our success story under our natural resources management, the lolly tiger grass, which is the source for our soft brooms, built a house in Lubuagan, meaning it has become a viable income business for our barangay residents. And this happened not only in Lubuagan, but also in other places in Kalinga and in Ifugao. The third component was rural infrastructure, where we made inroads in the rehabilitation of roads in 26 separate projects, 47 kilometers of foot trails upgraded, 29 pedestrian bridges constructed, 32 combined footpath and pedestrian bridges. We had 122 village water systems constructed, and the rehabilitation of our communal irrigation systems, which served around 2,000 hectares. Very briefly, the innovations in our rural infrastructure was that in Hapao, that's in Hongduan, Ifugao, there was this sitio in Hapao which didn't have any water, and the only source of water was across the mountain. So SECAP innovated this by installing a very long pipe across the valley to be able to bring water from the other side of the mountain. The other one also was for our village water supply systems. In SECAP, this was genderized, meaning when we were putting up the village water systems, these were all with the women in mind, women who have to carry the water, women who have to wash clothes at the water system site. And as such, provisions were made for concreting the space around the water supply system. And if I may just add, last year we visited Mayawyao, and no less than the Mayor Pagjangan of Mayawyao shared with us that the irrigation system which SECAP constructed in his municipality, in his barangay, is still functional to this date. And the reason behind this is that the community cooperation that they saw to it, that the irrigation system was well maintained, so it could serve them well. The fifth component, rural finance, this was a new component under the phase 2 of SECAP, where we implemented Grameen-style savings and loan groups. Actually, the speaker coming after me is a pioneer for this, for the implementation of our rural finance activities, where we had 970 savings and loan groups. These were styled after the Grameen Bank, with 6,688 members, generating a whopping 12.7 million savings. Because this is part of loan, the repayment rate was 85% at the savings and loan group level. An SLG, or a savings loan group, was made up from at least 10 to 15 members, where they would save weekly, even around 10 pesos a week. And we can see that the savings and loan groups brought about some life-changing behavior from our beneficiaries. These were not just women, we also had men, and we were given stories about men and saving on their liquor, didn't buy any more liquor so that they could have something to save. And at one time, vegetables were not free. The women were not giving this out for free. They were selling these so they have something to save. Okay. And today, we're very happy to say that even as SECAP has been gone for more than a decade, the rural finance structure remains in place, and we have a lot of cooperatives who have benefited from this and are now millionaire cooperatives. And may I just mention a few? The one which Andres, our next speaker, has founded, the Hungduan Microfinance Cooperative. We have the Ifugao Multipurpose Development Cooperative, Panuptuban in Asipolo, Aguinaldo in Aguinaldo, Piwang in Hingyon, and of course, everybody knows Taman. Taman, in the big co-op there in Nueva Vizcaya, started very humbly, and SEC was there to help them start their operations. And also, and the last one, which is marketing. Next slide, please. Okay. For marketing, we had 17 cooperatives operated agricultural marketing or business services. 5 market centers were constructed, 46 post-harvest facilities installed, 16 marketing facilities established. This included collection posts, storage facilities, drying pavement, and multipurpose buildings. Again, we are very happy to report that of the cooperatives that SECAP helped to strengthen and are now on their own, some of these have been awarded for exemplary performance. And we make mention of 2 cooperatives at least in Kalinga, the one in Pinukpuk and the one in Tanuden. And part of this is also that the help that was provided, the financial and technical assistance provided to already existing cooperatives like Sadeco, Banawi Savings, LMDC, Tianga Multipurpose, and the other cooperatives. So even as SECAP has closed, the spirit of SECAP lives on in these cooperatives. The final component, which is the soft component, institutional development, where we organize irrigators associations and strengthen them, village waters associations as well, and towards the end of SECAP, we had our LGU transfer programs. These were undertaken to provide for the continuation and replication of activities after the closing of SECAP. With this we conducted a series of trainings in strategic planning for our provincial and municipal local government units. We instituted a system for barangay development planning at the barangay level and other organizational development type of trainings. Okay. So then after the second phase, we were granted an extension period of 1 year. That was from 2003 to 2004. The extension period was intended to concentrate on sustainability issues rather than continuing to pursue the program's numerical targets. So the activities included during the extension period were continued strengthening activities for our local government units. We provided financial support for projects proposed and implemented by the LGUs, especially for the road opening, prepared for a follow-up consolidation program, proposed mainstreaming activities to integrate SECAP methodologies with those of the Department of Agriculture, continued support for the private sector, rural finance organizations, and completed further studies and publications concerning the effectiveness and impact of SECAP activities. All the publications, we have turned this over to the DA, to the province, and to the municipal offices. Publications on rice, on natural resources management, on all the crop that we supported, Paravet manuals, organizational development manuals, all of these were provided to our local partners. Okay. So how did we go about with implementing SECAP? The strategy was project field staff worked with local communities on a fully participatory basis to identify, prepare, implement, and review activities. Each activity required a counterpart contribution from the concerned local government unit or community that usually amounted to 25% of the expected total cost. Counterpart contributions took the form of labor and local materials provided by the beneficiaries or the use of heavy equipment owned by the LGUs in the case of our infrastructure projects. The methodology that was employed by SECAP during all the years of its implementation period included our annual work plans and budgets were approved by the Philippine authorities and the delegation of the European Commission. We enjoyed a decentralized management structure which was semi-autonomous, which allowed for our field staff to be able to innovate and come up with interventions that were relevant and appropriate to the community. And of course, the respect for traditional culture and land use practices, sensitivity to gender issues, emphasis on sustainability intended to strengthen permanent institutions that would continue and build upon the program's accomplishments. We just put here a few of our lessons learned for program design. Counterpart commitments should not be required in the form of cash for critical program components or activities so that the projects will not be delayed in being completed. And for implementation, we place here project management should be based on the recruitment and development of a strong local team with flexible outside support according to clearly identified needs. And in monitoring, a strong monitoring and evaluation system provides a true picture of the program's accomplishment. I can say that with this monitoring evaluation, we had a very strong evaluation system. We graded our micro projects, how they were rated by our beneficiaries, and we still have the data from all from the program's accomplishments. Now let me end this presentation for SECAP, the first part of my presentation, with a success story in agriculture. We call this the Magic 7 Technologies for Highland Rice Production. And this was initiated by one of our field staff, Galito Madingta, and the farmers of the Bongbongna, Poitan, Kinakin, Ibayong Farmers Association in Banawi, where they had 30 members. To be able to save the terraces, they came up with, they put into practice 7 practical technologies. First was a mechanized land preparation through the microtiller, which made land preparation 70 times faster. And also the use of the microtiller can also be used by not just the male farmer, but also the female farmer. And the use of intensified green manure fertilizer application used in sunflower and soil as fertilizers, thus replenishing depleted soil nutrients. The third one, we call this the Malagasy, the technology of early transplanting the rice seedlings that encouraged more tillers, early maturity, and harvest of the crop. The fourth technology was zinc deficiency correction, because zinc deficiency reduces yield by 30%. So by correcting this, we're able to save our crops. The fifth one is rice duct integration using the mother ducts or the itik to control the kuhol and to increase soil fertility and weed control. Another one was rice fish integration to provide additional income and food supply and to reduce weed growth. The last one, rice vegetable is an improved adaptation of the indigenous practice of inago. The result of this was that they had 52% increase in income with the introduction of fish, ducks, and vegetables to the rice-based cropping system. One of the, if I can just, as a closing statement for this, the sustainability of SECAP lies also in the people, in the persons who implement the project, and I can say that we have a number whom we are proud. We have bragging rights of the excellence that they have demonstrated for our SECAP alumni. May I quickly say, of course, we have Dr. Dinah Vicayo, we have Dr. Marisa Bulong, they are SECAP alumni. Of course, we have Andres, the speaker after me, formerly from Satayama, that's Lali Dulnuan. At the provincial level, our provincial engineer, our provincial treasurer, the provincial director of DILG are all SECAP trained. We have in Kalinga, recently awarded by CSC as outstanding. We have our provincial agriculturist, as Doming Bakilan. Of course, we have one of our board members, Honorable Agustin Calyaen, who used to be a project evaluation officer. And at the regional level, we have Ruben Wacas, who is now the CSC Regional Director for Cordillera. We have also some mayors who are products of SECAP. We have Fidel Dincog, who vastly improved the operations of Bangko Lagawi. So there are many of us who are proudly SECAP alumni, and we carry the values, the correct values for our culture and for our work ethics. So that is all about SECAP. Now may I just now go to the second project which I was a member, which I was a part of. Actually, before we had our GIAS project, the FAO implemented a project which was on climate change adaptation. This was implemented from 2010 to 2012. And Ifugao was also an implementation site. Because this is on climate change adaptation, it's climate change adaptation methodologies that are appropriate for high elevation areas like Manawi, medium elevation areas like Mayaoyao and Kiangan, and for the low elevation was Alfonso Lista. Benguet was also another site for this project. And we learned some of the projects or some of the crops which we introduced in GIAS came from the lessons that we learned from the climate change project. Now, we have these Ifugao rice terraces. We have the globally important agricultural heritage site or systems project, which we implemented. The project was implemented from 2012-2013, 1 year and 18 months. The project covered 2 municipalities in Hongduan, where we covered 5 barangays, and in Kiangan, 2 barangays. These are the heritage sites, okay? It was a very short project for us because there were some questions about it, but anyway, with the 1 year and 8 months that were given to us, we maximized this, and we're very happy that the IFSU has taken over with the Satoyama project, and now I think it's still ongoing, and also that the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, followed this up with the ongoing project, which is the Agrobiodiversity project. Now let's just see why the IRT, the Ifugao Rice Terraces, was considered as a GIAS site. Here we describe the ancient Ifugao rice terraces as the country's only remaining highland mountain ecosystem, featuring the ingenuity of the Ifugaos, which has created a remarkable agricultural farming system and has retained the viability of a 2,000-year-old organic paddy farming. The continued existence and viability of the rice terraces is a manifestation of strong culture-nature connections, marvelous engineering systems, innovativeness, and determined spirit of the Ifugaos to maximize use of mountainous lands for food production. Next slide, please. Our rice terraces are supported by indigenous knowledge management of Muyung, which is managed through a collective effort and under traditional practices. The communally managed forestry area on top of the terraces contain indigenous plant species, mostly endemic to the region. Here you can see samples of our rice terraces. This one, I think one of them is Piangan and the other one was taken in Hungduan. Okay, next slide. The terraces form unique clusters of micro-watersheds and are part of the whole mountain ecology. They serve as a rainwater filtration system and are saturated with irrigation all year round. A biorhythm technology in which cultural activities are harmonized with the rhythm of climate and hydrology management has enabled farmers to grow rice at over 1,000 meters above sea level. Okay. The GIAS project, what was its project goal? It was to protect and encourage customary use of biological resources in accordance with traditional cultural practices that are compatible with conservation or sustainable use requirements, specifically within agricultural systems. And its project objective was to promote the dynamic conservation and adaptive management of globally significant agricultural biodiversity hardboard in GIAS. The development objective of GIAS was to ensure food security, sustain livelihoods, and reduce poverty of traditional farmers through dynamic conservation of agricultural heritage systems, and promote sustainable use of agricultural biodiversity for sustainable agricultural and rural development. Okay. The project focus of GIAS was to address the barriers to ensuring long-term conservation and adaptive management of the GIAS site. The strategy was to identify and maintain essential indigenous, remarkable, and sustainable characteristics of these systems, while at the same time preserving the internal processes that allow the necessary evolution to adapt to changing circumstances, enhancing the socio-economic development of resource users, and capturing the related local, national, and global benefits. Okay. So that's the backgrounder for the GIAS project. Let me share with you now the experiences and lessons that we learned for Ifugao. May we just skip that one and the other one too. I'll go straight. Next slide, please. Okay. So what were the activities that we undertook for GIAS? We had our community seedling banks. Two of these were established, one in Hulungan in Kiangan and the other one in Hapao, in Hulungan in Kiangan and Hapao in Hungduan, with the committee in general as beneficiary to ensure supply of seedlings for watersheds and backyards. Basically, the ones that were in the nursery for Hungduan was more of our citrus, because this is what is adaptable in Hungduan, and for Kiangan we had some pine trees, and also for coffee and some of the indigenous trees which were raised in the nursery in Banawi that was supported by the climate change project. And then we repaired irrigation systems. No, what's this? Okay, wait. Repaired. I'm getting lost. Can we go back to the previous slide, please? Okay. Agroforestry woodlots with farmers participating planted to indigenous trees and fruit-bearing trees. As I said earlier, we had some of the indigenous trees, alayon, I forgot the names, and then for fruit-bearing trees, we had coffee, lemon, and other citrus trees. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Farmers field schools on integrated rice farming systems with farmers, where they completed a season-long training program using traditional varieties. So this was done in all the barangays that we covered for GIAS. And then irrigation systems were repaired to ensure continuing supplies for the rice fields. We also had 2 projects, hazard mitigation structures to protect the terrace walls from eroding. Okay. Aside from the paddy-based projects, we had several, next slide please. Okay. Several livelihood projects that augmented family income. Enhanced rice wine brewing project as a source of additional income for farmers and for non-farmers alike. The training was done in Kiangan, and then also as wine raising project, vegetable production, and there was one that was introduced as a rice byproduct project, and this was food for babies, which was a project of the women beneficiaries in the barangay in Hunduan. And ginger tea project by another cooperative also in Hunduan, and the rice processing support equipment that was given to the Rice Terraces Farmers Cooperative based in Banawi, but had a branch in Hunduan. Loom weaving projects with women farmers were trained and practicing as an off-farm income generating activity. Okay, so we trained and we provided loom weaving machines in Kiangan and in Hunduan. And then, next slide please. Assistance was also provided in ensuring sustainable tourism and terraces management. We conducted an agritourism planning workshops where the sectors from the regional, from the provincial and municipal involved personnel were there, where we came up with recommendations on how tourism should be handled in Ifugao. And the project assisted the Provincial Planning and Development Office, the PPDO of Ifugao, that resulted to a 10-year conservation master plan of the Ifugao rice terraces. Okay. Another project that we initiated was the Community Open Air Museum. The Open Air Museum in the World Heritage Site of Nagkakadan, Kiangan, contributes to the restoration and enhancement of the tangible and intangible heritage of the Ifugaos and helps improve the socioeconomic conditions of indigenous community that build and maintain the terraces. Okay. Now, this Community Open Air Museum presents a microcosm of the Ifugao culture to visitors at the least intrusive manner, meaning when visitors go to the Open Air Museum, they do not expect that there are performers, but rather what they see will be the natural performers of planting, harvesting, whatever the activity is at the time of their visit. We do not call performance to do this, so it becomes a very natural activity that they are able to witness. To ensure proper development and management of community-based ecocultural tourism ensures that the Heritage Conservation Fund from a portion of the tourism revenue is reinvested into cultural enhancement and socio-economic improvement program for terrace farmers, and promote and market the Open Air Museum as an eco-cultural destination that embodies its values as a living cultural landscape. Okay. Another facility that the project initiated, was the establishment of 2 community heritage learning centers, one in Baininan in Kiangan and the other one in Hapao in Hunduan, where the centers were intended as converging areas for learning about traditional technologies and the rich culture that go with it. And one activity that was done was the rice terraces inventory and mapping in one barangay, that was Hapao. This was patterned after the Unicom project in Banawi. This is Hapaw. Part of the rice inventory showed us that 20% at the time of the rice terraces in Hapaw was already abandoned. So last but not the least are the lessons learned. We just pick up a few. That there's a need for a longer implementation period so as to come up with concrete results for project implemented. Remember that the GIAS project was just implemented a little under 2 years, so it was rushed with all the projects that were implemented, but that we're happy because we have the IFSU and the FAO coming up with follow-through projects. There is a need to localize GIAs so more areas can be rightfully declared as IAS or important agricultural heritage areas, thereby conserving sustainable traditional technologies. As I understand, Hingyon and Hungduan are almost ready to be declared as locally important agricultural heritage sites, and this is under the FAO Agrobiodiversity Project. And finally, GIAS is all about agri and culture, intrinsically woven with each other. This is all, and thank you very much for this opportunity.